The child is not mine. So what now? I ask her, clearly ask her, I say, what else you have to talk about? What else we had to argue about? Well, this girl Nicole always coming up and you don't pick up for me and stuff like that. What else we had to talk about? Well, you ain't going to work. Why would I go to work and take care of a person that don't care nothing about me? When I come home from work hard, boy, I had to cook for myself. I had to take care of myself, boy. Who want that? Well, here's the tears in my eyes because I think I want people to feel, I want nobody to feel sorry for me. I want people to understand where I'm coming from. My grandmother ain't raised no food. I was raised by my grandmother, right? I know how to cook, wash, clean. I know how to do all that stuff. Literally do know how to do that stuff. Ask her, she'll tell you. I didn't have a problem doing all that stuff in the house. I just wanted that person to care for me. Hey, Jason, how your day was? Once in a while, cook. You? Shh. Louis Vuitton. We have 6 trucks on the road. You'll see me 2, 3 o'clock in the morning fixing trucks, running trucks. Don't get off the port, driving a jockey truck for 15 hours. You watch me and tell me where I am. But when the truck's down, where the truck at in Atlanta, I had to jump in my truck, drive to Atlanta, fix that son of a bitch, drive back here, turn around, then you just tell me something like, well, you don't want to work at the hall, why you didn't give your card back? You know damn well I just get off work, drive all the way there, fix the truck, come back. I just had surgery. When I had surgery on my arm, the very next day I'd be lower truck in South Carolina, making a center support bearing for a truck. Right? But you telling me I don't care? All that work, I didn't charge this woman not 1 penny because I didn't want to see her business fail. Right? She know that, I know that, everybody else know that. People who know me, they'll be like, boy, Jason, people on the street talking about Jason, you's a donkey or something, man. Why you letting this girl use you like that? That's what people be saying. She know that. I don't care what they say because I know what I was doing. I didn't want her business to fail, so I wasn't charging her not 1 penny. It could be a $4,000 job, it could be a $8,000. You could ask her. It was $1,000 I was saving her. Took my truck, when I bought a bed for my guy for 3-4 hours away from here, stuck it on my damn truck and put all the tools I need on there and revamped my whole tool. I was welding, doing everything, and I literally do almost anything when coming to a vehicle. I didn't have a damn thing I can't do, right? And it's almost like it was never enough. Yeah, shit was never enough, boy. I'll be tired. Hey, you ain't going to work? Hey, you ain't going to work? Well, shit. Hey, you ain't going to work? I just couldn't take it no more, man. My body tired and my mind tired. I just can't deal with that woman that don't care about me at all, right? Y'all will go out to eat. Y'all will come back. Y'all will see stuff on it. They'll bring food. All of them will bring food, eat. Ask them if they can bring me anything. They bring me nothing, man. I'll be upstairs there. I'll go to sleep hungry. I ain't get nothing. Right? So what I'll do, I'll stop at my mama's house, get something to eat, and come home. Right? Because I already know. There ain't nothing for me to eat. There ain't nothing to me. They ain't going to think about bringing me something to eat. Once in a blue moon, if I'm doing something for her, she'll bring me food. Because she know I'm doing something for her. Right?
Yes.
Where were you when she was ramming it?
I was walking down the road. She told me she was gonna go come pick up my car.
Yeah, she rammed it like 2 or 3 times, right?
I don't know. I
You didn't
wasn't
see
over
it?
here.
Okay.
I was down walking down the road.
You got cheated on.
Sorry.
You got cheated on. You got cheated on. And I'm a carrier, baby. I'm getting an abortion. And if I do have it, it's going with your family. I don't want to look at that shit.
Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shai, Bahashum, Rechak Kodash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the 4 winds who believe in and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rochaya from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. And I don't have a title for this lesson as of right now, but this lesson is inspired by the 2 clips that you seen at the beginning, which really lay a few strokes in the broader painting of how the Israelite man is viewed, by the world, and especially the women of our nation, as nothing more than a utility. In today's world, the Israelite man, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American Indian man are seen as nothing more than a utility. Nothing more than another means to pay the bills, rather than the assets that they truly are, especially when it comes to a man of the Lord, a prophet of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. because the Lord looks at his elect as assets. An asset being something that increases in value, as the time progresses. And as time progresses, and the more and more the Lord sups with his men, Lord willing we be of that number, the more they increase in value, the more of an asset they become to the Heavenly Father through his only begotten Son. And the world is going to realize that value when Jacob's trouble and our temptation are upon the world. The world is only going to realize the value that the men of the Lord brought to their lives after it's all said and done. Because the scriptures say this. Psalms chapter 110. In verse 3, it says, "Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power. In the beauties of holiness from the womb of the morning thou hast the dew of thy youth." Again, it says, "Thy people shall be willing in the day of thy power." And it's going to take the Lord manifesting his power, showcasing his power in judgment, through judgment, for these people to understand how valuable the men of the Lord were, when this time of liberty and grace was upon them. Because right now the Lord has his men in a state of warning, in a state of meekness, in a state of humility, in a state of, charity and temperance, discipline, integrity. Something that the majority of the men of this world, especially the so-called white man, don't possess. The majority of the men of this world don't possess integrity. They don't possess temperance or discipline. They don't have faith. They don't see the value in faith. They don't see the value in understanding the will of the Lord or prophecy. They don't understand the importance of having a strong character, which are all things that the Lord is breeding and cultivating within his elect, which are making them assets, which is why a man of the Lord is going to be more precious than the gold of Ophir. Let me get that. It's Isaiah 13:12. It says, "I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir." All right, and that man is not speaking about just any Joe Smo. It's speaking about a man of the Lord, a man that possesses wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and faith. Because the times that we're coming into, that is what's going to be truly the asset: faith, wisdom, understanding. That's what's going to be the asset. That's what's going to be valuable in the times to come. Not how much money a man possesses, not how strong he is, not how smart a man may be in this world, not how many resources he may command in this world. All right, what's going to be of true value is his integrity and his faith toward Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, his understanding of the will of the Lord in judgment. Isaiah 33:6, "And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure." All right. Excuse me. And wisdom and knowledge is only contained within the men of the nation of Israel. That's only been given as an inheritance to the men of the nation of Israel, to therefore give and teach unto the women and for them to teach the children. But the Lord is dealing with his men directly, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. The testimony of the Lord is with men. Chiefly the elect men on the planet Earth, who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear and the mind to comprehend this gospel. That's who the Lord is dealing with. That's who wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is being poured into. That's who faith is being poured into. And the fact that we have to explain this, the fact that we're going into this as lessons and as epistles, to put into them and to remind the people of how much an asset the man of the Lord is, shows you how far we've fallen. Because in times past, the women of our nation, the people, really the world, understood how much of an asset a man of the Lord was. When you look at the search of our fathers, right, like it says in Job, the 8th chapter, when we look at the search of our fathers, and you go through, their different accounts, you see how much of an asset they were in their time because of the faith that they possessed, because of the understanding that they had of judgment and the will of the Lord. It made them an asset to the people around them, to their wives, to their children, to their communities. It made them an asset, and their value increased, their stock increased to the point to where their lives and their testimony was written in the book of life. Which is the same thing that we here in these latter days seek. We seek our names to be written in the book of life. We seek to be assets to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Vessels meet for the master's use. Which chiefly comes through faith, right? This is Hebrews chapter 11. And let's start at verse 1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. So by faith the elders obtained a good report. So a good report comes from faith, right? A good name comes from faith, which the scriptures speak about a good name being more precious than rubies. It all comes through faith. It says, through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of the Heavenly Father, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith Abel offered unto the Heavenly Father a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, the Heavenly Father testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. By faith Enoch was translated so that he should not see death, and was not found because the Heavenly Father had translated him. Before his translation he had this testimony that he pleased the Heavenly Father. But without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to the Heavenly Father must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. By faith Noah, being warned of the Heavenly Father of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became heir of righteousness, by which is by faith. So we see how a report has been gotten by our forefathers through faith in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. A good name has been gotten, a name of great value, a report of great value has been gotten through our forefathers' faith and integrity. Not by how mighty they were, not by how smart they were, not by how much they possessed. What made them assets was their faith and their integrity, their understanding. Something that this world doesn't value, which for brothers, don't be thrown off by that. Don't be thrown off by that. Truly, brothers have to realize their value. Especially when it comes to certain people that you allow into your space and into your lives. Have some respect for yourself. Have some respect for yourself. The Israelite man is going to go from a utility to an asset real soon. And we already seeing how it's going in Gary, Indiana. How people are bugging out because they've been without lights for over 9 days now. Without lights, which affects the water, which affects your ability to be your cleanliness, which affects your ability to prepare food, which affects your ability to go to and fro work, which affects your ability to get good sleep, which affects the people around you in your neighborhood. It creates a lot of unease and unrest. We see how it's going in Gary, Indiana, and that's just a test. When that same situation and an even worse situation befalls the whole planet, that's when the men of the Lord are going to be seen as that fine gold of Ophir. Because they're the only ones that's going to be stable. Just like we've seen in 2020, when the whole world was seemingly falling apart, brothers were stable, losing jobs, losing women, losing relationships, resources, whatever the case may be. Brothers remain stable. Brothers remain steadfast and integral in their stance toward Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, not receiving that jab. And it ultimately played out for brothers because the Lord saw brothers through it. The same way the Lord is going to see his elect through these more evil times that are upon us. Because of the gift of faith that was bestowed upon them. Because of the prayer Yahweh Shai made for his elect, made for his men, that they be not taken out of the world, but they be given the spirit to overcome, roughly paraphrasing. And that conquering spirit is going to enter into the earth in a very miraculous way. Believe you me, when the Lord manifests the value of his prophets, it's going to be in a miraculous way. The scriptures speak about the strangeness of our salvation. What the Lord is getting ready to do is not going to be any small feat, because the judgment that's being brought is not a small feat. What the Lord is getting ready to do is not going to be a small feat. It's going to be something for the ages, a story told for generations of how the Lord intervened, of how the Lord came through for those who believed and trusted, of how the men of the Lord who were once seen as utilities became great assets through faith. And like that Benjamite said, for the majority of Jace, they're tired, man. And this is all a product of the curses, our disobedience led to this estate that we're currently in. But that doesn't mean that we don't sigh and cry against it. That don't mean that we hold our tongue. The Lord wants us to sigh and cry, to acknowledge, to cry out against it. Like that Benjamin said, man, Jake is tired, man. For the most part, Jake is simple, man. But through the so-called white man and Eve co-conspiring, the world has been turned into something that is unbearable. The nature of man has been turned into a whole nother use. You don't even have to get into today's men. You already know how today's men are. You already know how today's Jakes present themselves and carry themselves is in a very effeminate manner. Unbecoming of the elect, unbecoming of a man of the Lord, unbecoming of a man of the nation of Israel. But the Lord is restoring his judges at the first, like it says in Isaiah, the 1st chapter. And those judges are men of integrity and faith. That is what truly constitutes a man. A man is constituted by his faith, his integrity, and his character. And that understanding is coming back into the earth. Believe you me. Believe you the scriptures. But I want to get this last one. Proverbs 11:3, it says, the integrity of the upright shall guide them, but the perverseness of transgressors shall destroy them. All right, and the integrity of the upright is going to guide them through these perilous times. All right, it's going to guide them through, the valley of the shadow of death, so to speak. The perverseness of transgressors is ultimately going to lead them to their demise. Integrity has value. Righteousness has value. Like it says in Psalms, verily it shall be said, there was a reward for righteousness. Righteousness has value. Integrity, which means blamelessness, all right, being whole, which when the Lord was doing miracles, a lot of the people that he healed, he said, go, be thou art made whole. The Lord has made us whole through his spirit. He's washed us by the word in his spirit. Integrity, is what we receive. Discipline, faith, understanding. All of the things that are going to be held in high regards in these up and coming days. But, that's all I really had. I didn't want to make this too long. Lord, this is edifying unto you elect. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashum, Yahweh Shai, Bahashum, Rachak Kodash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who do well. Grace and peace to you elect. Shalom. Stay up.